Geoffrey Chaucer, the renowned poet and diplomat from the 14th century, holds a special place in the history of England and English literature. He's celebrated for his magnum opus, The Canterbury Tales, a captivating collection of stories that provides an insight into medieval society and human nature. Join Facts First to learn the shocking secrets of Geoffrey Chaucer and The Canterbury Tales. Man of the people. Beyond his renowned literary accomplishments, Chaucer led a unique life with a fascinating career, which included diplomatic and administrative roles. His diplomatic work took him to various European countries like France, Italy, and Spain, where he engaged in important negotiations and represented the English crown. His proficiency in different European languages, including French and Italian, proved invaluable in these endeavors. Not to mention, this multicultural experience would influence his literary career. His association with the royal court facilitated his appointment to positions of administrative significance. He served as a customs officer for the Port of London, a role that involved overseeing the collection of customs duties and tariffs. Later, he held the position of comptroller of the customs of the wool customs in the Port of London. This caused him to have much greater influence in political and bureaucratic circles. These experiences not only provided Chaucer with exposure to a diverse array of cultures and societies, but also enriched his understanding of the human condition. India, Greece, and Italy. The Canterbury Tales has influence from Chaucer's life, the history of England, and much more that notable historians, including dedicated Chaucerians, continue to explore. But of interest are the great works of literature that served as an influence for the Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales is primarily inspired by three other major works of world literature: the Panchatantra by Vishnu Sharma, Aesop's Fables, and the Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio. These ancient collections of stories significantly influenced his narrative style and choice of themes. The Panchatantra is an ancient Indian collection of animal fables. The Canterbury Tales share similarities with the tales of the Panchatantra in its use of anthropomorphic characters and moral lessons. Aesop's Fables is a Greek literary work which is a collection of moral stories featuring animals as characters and resonates with Chaucer's use of allegory and satire. Like Aesop, Chaucer weaves social commentary and moral messages into his tales, often employing animals to represent human traits and behaviors. The Decameron is a medieval Italian work that also influenced Chaucer. Both works share a narrative structure where a group of characters tell stories during a journey or confinement. Chaucer adapted this storytelling framework, placing his pilgrims on a pilgrimage to Canterbury. It's also believed that the Arabian Nights also had its influence on the Canterbury Tales. It wasn't finished. The Canterbury Tales is a remarkable literary work, but it remains unfinished. Though he initially planned to create 120 tales, he completed only 24 tales before his death. The stories follow 30 pilgrims going to and from Canterbury. Each pilgrim is supposed to tell 4 tales, which would create the 120. But despite the fact that he never finished the work, the 24 tales which were written remain influential. The lack of completion can be attributed to various factors, including Chaucer's other commitments and responsibilities, such as his diplomatic and administrative roles. Additionally, the sheer scale, complexity, and stress of the project may have contributed to its unfinished state. The Canterbury Tales continues to be regarded as a masterful representation of medieval life, social commentary, and the art of storytelling. The tales that Chaucer did manage to write showcase a diverse range of characters and narratives, providing a vivid snapshot of medieval England. The unfinished nature of the work has also sparked scholarly debate and speculation about Chaucer's intended structure and how the stories would have unfolded had he lived to complete the project. He did leave a small note at the end of the text indicating that he has decided to abandon the project and publish it as is. Challenges and protests. In medieval England, the royals, aristocracy, and the church held a strong grip over society, and the common man couldn't speak up very much. The only people who truly had free speech were the powerful. But of course, those people who were part of the system seldom had any interest in challenging or protesting against any injustice that occurred in England. However, this is where Chaucer stood out. He used the Canterbury Tales to challenge society. This is most notable in the Prioress tale. In this tale, a character belonging to a particular religion is ostracized. Historians and literary experts have had differing views regarding this tale. Some have felt its explicit prejudice towards Jewish people. However, others have stated it's a commentary on the anti-Semitism that existed at the time. Back then, Jews had been expelled from England, though many remained having to live in secret. The story took place outside of England, as Chaucer didn't want to insinuate that Jews still lived there. The story is typical of the tales told in medieval Christianity, and it's one of Chaucer's most shocking tales, and one that remains fiercely debated. In fact, while the Canterbury Tales follows a group of Christian pilgrims, many of the tales were critical of dogma and the oppression of the church at the time. Only an aristocrat like Chaucer could get away with writing such a work. The father of the English language. Chaucer is widely considered to be one of the greatest writers in the English language. He's actually referred to as the father of the English language. You'd think English was the language English people would have spoken at the time, but this wasn't the case. English was the language of the commoners, while the aristocracy, including Chaucer himself, spoke in Latin and French. English, as a result, wasn't considered to be a language of sophistication. Chaucer wanted to write a work that the common man could understand, despite the fact that the average person was illiterate. He was an aristocrat, but didn't see himself as being superior or different from the common man. The Canterbury Tales was revolutionary in the fact that it was written in the English language. That's why, despite the fact that most of us can't understand Middle English, it remains an important part of English literature. The Knight's Tale. The first tale in the Canterbury Tales was The Knight's Tale, and it remains one of the most popular. The popular movie A Knight's Tale, starring Heath Ledger, is considered to be a slight adaptation of the story. It's one of the early examples of a story that revolved around bravery and heroism in English literature. It's a tale that deals with ethical problems, and right off the bat, it shows that the reader must learn to challenge his or her own mind. Chaucer's works weren't just for pleasure, they were also for intellectual upliftment. Chaucer's legacy. There's not too much known about Chaucer's life, but we do know he was involved in working for the English royal family and was even briefly a prisoner of war during the 100 Years' War. Chaucer's works, especially the Canterbury Tales, are discussed to this day. Historians and literary fans debate the meaning behind his tales, and students, from elementary students to English majors, are often made to read the Canterbury Tales. Memorizing the first 18 lines of the general prologue is a challenge that many fans like to take. In some pubs in England, if you can recite these 18 lines, you can win a free beer. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you remember reading the Canterbury Tales when you were growing up? Let us know in the comments section below.